There are some things about online culture that rub me up the wrong way. Whoosh, for example. Say I make a video and somebody posts a comment on it that's wrong or stupid. A second person corrects them, and then a third person replies with whoosh, as though the second comment was stupid and that the first comment is a joke that went right over their head. Problem is, without knowing the person writing the first comment or what's going through their head at the time of typing, there isn't a way of knowing whether it's a serious comment worthy of a whoosh or in fact some kind of humour. This is the very basis of Poe's law, in fact. A lot of the time, the whoosh comment isn't obvious, even if you're the one who made the video in question. Internet culture is such a diverse and sprawling thing that sometimes even a Google search yields no clue as to how it's a whoosh. Ironically, the whoosh meme works better in the real world, where what's said is an inside joke between friends, often used in a self-deprecating way. But online, I suspect whoosh is often used to confuse and to irritate, rather than to inform. Another thing I don't like is something that's popular on Reddit right now, and that's the Murdered by Words subreddit. It's intended to be for instances where somebody posts something that immediately makes them unlikable, and then someone else responds to it in a way that completely shuts them down so that there is no coming back from it. But it's almost always misused. Most aren't murders, they're often just very long and condescending responses to a comment, and many are from seconds after it's been posted, where clearly the writer of the comment has screenshot it and submitted it to Murdered by Words for approval that their comment was indeed the more popular viewpoint of the two. I hate that. And then there's another sort. Take this. You'll notice that Arnold Schwarzenegger himself responds to it with a very long and matured response, shutting him down. I say this is warranted Murdered by Words material right here. But really, who won? I admit, I went on a witch hunt to try and find the original poster, not to post death threats or to harass him, but because I was genuinely interested to know his intentions. But the original comment has been removed. But say he wasn't a troll, but just an everyday person who, with momentary lapse of judgment, posted their questionable opinion on something that popped up on their Facebook feed. I can imagine they'd feel pretty bad about being shamed in front of the whole world. Maybe they quickly retracted their comment and went into hiding to have a long think about what they just did. I'd kind of feel sorry for them, having received worldwide backlash over what is essentially a few tasteless sentences with some poorly chosen words. Now, let's say he was a troll who crafted his comment to provoke people. Say he did it to upset and to offend. He hit the jackpot. How many people can claim to have been responded to by Arnold? Sure, he thought this guy was a piece of shit, but to a guy looking for a response, it beats being ignored. Here's an offensive lowlife on the internet whose comment got a response from one of the most famous and respected people in the world. I bet you he went into school the next day and bragged about that to his friends. Internet fame is poorly understood by most people right now. I think we like to imagine that getting a negative response is enough to teach trolls a lesson, or that it will somehow make them change for the better. But we're expecting people to be reasonable, and the reality is, internet fame will only encourage these types of people to behave as they do, and any publicity is good publicity for those with unpopular or extreme viewpoints. They'll be motivated by any kind of response. The bigger the better, and it'll push them into becoming willing verbal martyrs for the cause. Now where do I fit in with all this? I'm far from being rich or that famous. But even I get comments that are just there to provoke me into responding, and the baits are getting more smart, more manipulative. If you're the kind of person who gets into online arguments with people, there's no better way than to have videos with lots of views. That will make you a big enough target for trolls to go after. You may not think they're a troll, you might think they're genuine, but the moment you reply, they reply again saying, "Yes, you responded, love you, kiss kiss kiss," even though what they said in the first place sounds anything but. You, sir, have just fallen for a trap, and you've only contributed to the internet fame problem. If you're internet famous and somebody insults you, you might think that bragging about your position is a great way of shutting them down, and I think it's one of the more effective ways of doing so, if it weren't the internet. But since it is, what you just said can easily be taken out of context and then used against you elsewhere. Trolls win again. Big time. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, most of the time, you can't win against trolls, and the only way not to lose is to not reply to them in the first place, which can be hard, especially if you feel remaining silent gives their comment some degree of credibility. This is particularly frustrating for me, since I went through school being told just to ignore bullies and they'd go away. The reality, of course, is that bullies love people who don't defend themselves, and you're only told to ignore them because then teachers don't have to deal with your bullying problem. Likewise, I don't think ignoring trolls online will make them go away, but I can do my bit by trying to only respond to positive comments to promote a more pleasant community around my videos. This is difficult, I know, and something I really need to work on. What is there to say to a nice comment? Thank you? Positive response, to be sure. but it doesn't prick my curiosity like the possibility of a controversial discussion or heated debate does. If somebody's nice, you know their intentions. But if they come across in the wrong way, your mind starts racing. Is it a simple misunderstanding? Is there something you could learn from them? Where will your discussion lead to? Could you have just met literally the most horrible person in the world? I know which quest interests me the most. Cunningham's law indicates the best way to get the right answer online is to post the wrong answer. I propose a similar law. The best way to get attention is to be a dick.